From the very first moment he saw her, the world stopped. The rain-soaked hallway of the community center echoed with the soft hum of a broken speaker. And there she was, tiny, fragile, seated in a wheelchair with trembling fingers gripping the wheels as though holding herself together. Daniel, a single dad working the late-night janitorial shift, had seen countless tired faces, lonely souls, and children battling invisible storms. But something about this little girl, her quiet sadness, her eyes searching for something she believed she didn't deserve, struck him so deeply he almost forgot he was holding a mop. And on that night, the night that would forever change his life, he took a step toward her, not knowing that a billionaire woman with everything money could buy, but not the one thing she treasured most, was watching from the shadows. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The story begins long before that dance. Daniel had never imagined he would become a janitor, much less a single parent raising an 8-year-old boy on odd jobs and unending exhaustion. Once a skilled construction worker, he had lost his livelihood after a fall from scaffolding shattered not only his leg, but the life he once knew. His wife, overwhelmed by the hardship, disappeared one night without a word, leaving him alone with their son, Ethan. Every night after his shift at the community center, he would limp home with aching bones but a heart full of stubborn hope, because Ethan deserved more than a broken father. And so Daniel worked silently, sweeping floors, repairing broken chairs, wiping down mirrors, and always giving more than life ever gave him. The community center was his refuge, a place where no one looked down on the janitor who walked with a limp. He loved watching families gather for small events, laughter echoing through the hallways, children running freely across polished floors. But every evening, around the same quiet hour, he began noticing the girl in the wheelchair. No one ever brought her, no car dropped her off, no caretaker hovered nearby. She would simply appear, always in the far corner of the empty room where the mirror walls made everyone look whole, even those who felt broken. Some evenings she just sat silently, staring at her reflection. Other times she would attempt to move her wheelchair to the rhythm of faint music leaking through the thin walls from the dance studio next door. But her hands would slip, her breathing would tremble, and she'd retreat into stillness again. Daniel didn't approach her the first time. He didn't the second time either. But the third time, when he saw her crying silently, so quietly he almost missed it, something inside him refused to keep his distance. He approached her with gentle steps, careful not to scare her. His voice was soft and he asked if she needed help. She shook her head, avoiding eye contact. Daniel realized she didn't need help. She needed someone to simply not look away. So he told her he was just cleaning the room and she could stay as long as she wanted. For nights afterward, she returned. She still didn't speak much, but she no longer cried. Instead, she listened to the faint music and sometimes lifted her arms as if imagining herself dancing like the other children she watched from afar. One rainy evening, the speakers malfunctioned and played a slow, beautiful tune. The haunting melody drifted through the hallways, wrapping the empty space in something tender and magical. Daniel was sweeping near her when he saw her eyes close as though she wished she could stand, wished she could be carried by the rhythm the way other kids were. Something inside him stirred, a feeling he hadn't felt in years, a gentle rebellion against the limits life had imposed on both of them. Daniel looked at her shaking hands, her delicate frame, her hope, disguised behind quiet longing. Then he made a decision he didn't fully understand until after it happened. He placed the mop aside, approached her wheelchair, and whispered that he used to dance with his wife when they were young and foolish and believed the world was theirs. He said dancing didn't always require legs. Sometimes, all it required was courage and someone who believed in you. He didn't touch her without permission. He simply offered his hand, slow, steady, patient. She hesitated for a long moment. Then, with a trembling breath, she lifted her small hand and placed it in his. He gently placed one hand on the wheelchair, another lightly around her shoulders, and began moving with her, not forcing, not leading, just guiding her through a soft, flowing rhythm that made the room feel like it was spinning with stars. She lifted her arms, mimicking the movements of dancers she had only watched from afar. Her eyes widened as she realized she was dancing, not standing, not twirling, but dancing in her own way. Her way was gentle, quiet, breathtaking. And what Daniel didn't know was that up on the second-floor balcony, hidden behind the shadows of the glass railing, a woman stood frozen. Her name was Liana Alden, CEO of a billion-dollar real estate empire, known across the city for her elegance, strength, and ruthless intelligence. What the world did not know was that she was also the mother of that little girl, and that her greatest fear wasn't losing money, power, or reputation. It was losing her daughter's smile. She had brought her daughter, Lily, to therapy sessions in the community center for months, but Lily always refused to interact with anyone, closed off in her grief after the accident that had paralyzed her legs. Liana often watched from afar, believing her daughter didn't want her presence, didn't want her comfort, didn't want anything she had to offer. She blamed herself for the accident, though no one else did, and every time she saw Lily turn away from her billionaire heart broke in ways no wealth could ever repair. Tonight, when the therapist session ended early, Liana came back to retrieve something she had left behind. She didn't expect to find Lily still there. She didn't expect to find a janitor dancing with her in a way no therapist or doctor ever could. And she certainly didn't expect to see her daughter smiling. A real smile, fragile and bright like the first hopeful sunrise after years of storms. Down below, Daniel continued dancing with Lily as though the world were watching, but he believed no one was. He didn't know that his gentle kindness was shattering the walls around a lonely mother's heart. The dance ended slowly when the song faded into silence. Lily looked up at him, her cheeks flushed, her eyes brighter than he had ever seen them. For the first time, she whispered a soft thank you. It was so quiet he almost missed it. He responded with a warm pat on her shoulder and told her she could dance anytime she wanted, even if all she had was her arms and imagination. After that night, Lily began visiting more often. She talked a little more each time, laughed sometimes, and asked Daniel questions about dancing, about life, about his son. She said she felt safe around him, like she could exist without feeling broken. Daniel never pitied her. He treated her with dignity, with patience, with the gentle kindness of someone who knew exactly what it felt like to have life flip upside down. From her secret vantage points, hallways, glass windows, the upper floor balcony, Liana watched. Each day she wanted to approach them, but she felt paralyzed by fear. She worried Lily would pull away the moment she stepped in. She worried the janitor would think poorly of her. She worried that she, despite her wealth, had nothing to offer her own child in the way this ordinary man did. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Daniel was sweeping the hallway when Lily arrived earlier than usual. She looked excited, nervous, and shy all at once. She asked him if he could dance with her again. Not in the wheelchair this time. She said she wanted to try moving her upper body the way dancers did, even if her legs couldn't follow. Daniel agreed instantly. He placed a soft instrumental track on the old speaker, knelt beside her, took her hands gently, and began moving slowly with her. Her arms lifted gracefully, her head followed rhythmically, and she giggled when she made a mistake. Daniel laughed too, encouraging her, celebrating every tiny movement she dared to try. Liana had been approaching them quietly but stopped the moment she saw them dancing again. She pressed a hand to her mouth as tears slipped down her cheeks, tears she had held back for months. She realized then that Lily wasn't healing because of therapy or medicine or expensive specialists. She was healing because someone finally saw her not as a patient, not as a billionaire's daughter, but as a little girl who simply wanted to feel alive again. It was in that moment that Liana stepped forward, her heels clicked softly on the polished floor, catching both Lily's and Daniel's attention. Lily stiffened, uncertain. Daniel stood up quickly, embarrassed, thinking he had done something wrong. But Liana smiled, a trembling, grateful smile, and said she had been watching for weeks. She told Daniel, with a voice breaking from emotion, that what he did for her daughter was something no amount of money could buy. Daniel didn't know what to say. He felt awkward, out of place, and worried she might accuse him of crossing boundaries. Instead, she thanked him, deeply, genuinely, then asked if she could join them. Lily hesitated, but then she nodded, and the three of them stood together in that quiet hall as the music filled their hearts with something gentle and extraordinary. What happened in the weeks after felt almost unreal. Word of Daniel's kindness reached the board members of the community center. Liana personally sponsored a dance-inclusive program for children with disabilities and insisted Daniel become its coordinator, with full pay, benefits, and support. He refused at first, claiming he was just a janitor, just a man trying his best. But Liana told him that sometimes the most extraordinary people were the ones who never realized how extraordinary they were. And as Lily grew more confident, Daniel's son Ethan joined her during practice sessions. Their laughter filled the halls, weaving a friendship built on shared courage. Slowly, almost unknowingly, Daniel and Liana began sharing moments too, Simple conversations, warm smiles, shared worries about their children, and small healing victories celebrated together. But the greatest moment came one late afternoon, when Lily, breathing hard but glowing with triumph, raised her arms and completed her first full upper-body dance routine. Daniel and Liana both clapped, tears in their eyes, and Lily looked up at them with a brilliance that made the entire world seem small compared to her joy. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive. Before you read the ending, comment below, what would you have done if you were in Daniel's place? In the end, Daniel realized something profound, that kindness, given freely and without expectation, can change lives in ways unimaginable. And Liana realized that sometimes the people who enter our lives quietly, without fame or fortune, are the ones who heal us the most. Lily, once silent and withdrawn, now danced every day. Still in her wheelchair, still with trembling muscles, but with a heart full of courage and a smile that made her mother believe in miracles again. The janitor, the billionaire, and the little girl rediscovered life together. And the world, as broken as it could be, felt beautiful in the moments they let love lead the way. If you'd like another story with a different twist, title, or theme, just tell me. I'll create it.